So the first thing I look at there is to see that it's evenly knocking those corners down. So I've got a bit of a wide flat there, pretty equal on the other three sides. So that's real close. And I'll put the cord on that cylinder right now. And here it's pretty close to round, got a couple little flats, so it's real close. I'll show you how I start that square to round transition there. So first I go in with this large gouge to just make a cylinder there, or the beginnings of one, staying just to the right of that scribed line. That's where I'm going to make the transition from the square to the round. And to do that, I'll use this little skew chisel. Little, it's maybe 5/8 of an inch, that's 3/4 of an inch. And some of the action is just arcing it up like that with my handle down low and just bring it up, and which drives the long point into it. But also tilted, not 90 degrees to the turning, but angled a bit, like this. And that starts to bite into those corners. Then I lay over on my right to get some of the waste out of the way, and repeat. Now using the short point to come up to that transition, and I'm nearly done. I'll use a heavier skew to finish it off here. And that isn't quite down to the cylinder yet, but it's real close. So it's a cylinder here now. Slightly lighter, smaller skew. And the action is going to be to lift the handle up like that as I come in at a bit of an angle. And try to do this in as few cuts as possible. And that's done. Now I'll come back to this bigger skew to clean up beside it. And I'll probably not touch that anymore. Just a tiny bit. Move the cord back over to finish this business up. So here's the other, the top end of the turning is going to be right here. So as I make that cylinder, it's a little chewed up here. I'm just below my line. So now I can come in, again, arcing in with this skew. Right about like that. And that's done. It's real tempting to go over these again and again, and I've found that's the best recipe for ruining them. There's a little torn up fiber there, but a plane can clean that off later. I don't know if that shows up, but here I've got the stick laid out with that main cylinder. I've yet to turn the foot, but I'll do a piece right here. So I'll just prick those marks with an awl. Just those 3 for right now. And there's the mark I made with the awl. And I just kick the lathe and hold the awl in place. And this is just a collar sort of thing. So I'll use this little fingernail gouge. So to reduce that size, and then define it with the skew. So alternating between scoring it with the skew held pretty much vertical and then cutting to that scored mark back and forth. I brought the first leg over for comparison's sake. I don't take a lot of measurements when I'm doing these, but I did measure this collar just now, and I'm maybe not even 1/8 of an inch fat still on that one. So I'll just take that down a tiny bit more and then go on from there. And while I'm at it, I'll do this half bead here, just to get that out of the way. And I'm using a tiny little gouge to rough that down. then we'll clean up with a skew. Like that. And then just score a line in it. That's principally about decoration, really. And one in here as well. Now what I get is I can put the cord there, and that's, you'd usually just do it with the lathe turning, just knock it right over there. And now I have room to finish that cylinder, but I'll pick up a little by wrapping the cord around the treadle one more turn. Get a little more what we call throw in that. Got a squeak in the treadle now. So this sort of baluster shape now comes down to about the same diameter as what's on this side of this collar. So that's what I'm doing now, is just diving in here. Then I'll shape the rest of that afterwards. Leave that. Set the stick on here, and I'll do this cove now. Score those points. So I've used the gouge to start to line that out. And now the skew. And I'll go back and forth between those tools to get this thing done. You see I have a good ways to go. And this is one place where a measurement doesn't hurt you any. That is an 1 5/16". And I'm over 1.5 inches right there. So I can go a good way still. And now I'm still over 3/8, so close enough. And I'll start to fine tune those fillets on the sides of the cove again. So to put them back. there you have it. The perfect example of a catch from that skew. And some of that will remain in the finished leg. That's all right. Now, I just want to turn this baluster down. That's the major diameter right there. And what does this look like? A little bit just dropping down there like that. They're pretty close. I'm going to put a little more depth in the middle of that cove. Like that. Now work on this collar here, and I'll put the cord over in the cove to get at that. Same sort of gig as before. Now just sort of beveled that off with that really small gouge. I'm going to put a tiniest flap right there. Ooh. I told you I hate to go over them again. And right on these transition points, I like to just score a last line with the point of the skew. Just defines them a little more. Do one right there. Makes those transitions really stand out a bit. Could use it right beside here too. Like that. To polish it, I just take a fistful of shavings from the lathe. So I'll reset the camera, try to come in closer and do the foot. See if I pick up any details. Well, we'll see if I can do this with the camera this close. Might get in the way of the tools. So I'm back to that large gouge. Just take those corners off. You need the lightest touch to begin with. Pretty close to what I need, and oh, shoot that right to smithereens right there. This, I didn't tell you, this piece of wood is red oak. White oak turns a little better, but this one is pretty nice. And so I cut that a little deeper than I might ordinarily to try to clean up where it tore out right there. Of course, it tore out right on the front of that stile. That's always the way. I'll survive. I'll sleep just fine. So at the foot, it's just a cove and a quarter bead. So let's outline the cove like that. Is kind of a big tool to get into a small place like that. Switch over to the smaller one. So there's that scoring cut I was talking about before, and now pare that down, score it, pare it, you can see it here. I'm not one to teach anybody turning, but I can show you that you can get through it, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. As long as you get the legs pretty close to the same, they'll be fine on the finished stool. I don't do as much turning as a lot of chair makers, I know. I used to do more. But that looks pretty thick and clunky. Let me see what the other one looks like. Yeah, smaller fillets. So let's see if I can get those down a little. That sunshine is too much. It's nice to see the sun, but shows every possible defect on here. Yeah, that's more like what I want. So I've slowed down the treadling very much right there to do the detailed cut. And there's times when you increase your speed and decrease it according to what you're trying to do, or I do anyway. Other people do, might be different. And that score mark right in there. There isn't one in the foot because part of the foot gets cut away and can end up creating a little weak spot if you have that score mark there. But it's tempting to put one there. You got a blank space. So that's certainly good enough. So that's how I turn the stiles for a joint stool. It'll be the same for a wainscot chair that I'm going to do later this season. And we'll go on to the next part. See what I mean about you can't leave them alone? It's the curse of turnings. Let me just go back one last cut, and that's when you usually ruin it. I scored the bead a little bit, but I cleaned up the fillet. And you won't see the bead when the stool is standing up.